So just talk a little bit about sort of, the mood in the practice room this week. Was it different than the usual? I mean, you're coming off of your most complete team win, across the board against a ranked opponent. Just talk a little bit about was the mood in the room any different this week than in, previous ones?
Um, I don't think so. I think our guys are pretty committed to the I guess task at hand, just getting their work in, and we preach to them not to focus too much on you know what happened last week. Let's focus on what we need to do to get better and head into the following weekend.
Thanks.
Next question's from Kevin.
We talked a couple of weeks ago about your position as a program, beating teams in the 50s, 40s, whatever. Taking this next step, beating a team in the top 25 that you said was really strong up and down the lineup. What's the next important thing for you all? Duplicating that, not, trying to avoid some of the ups and downs? What are the next goals?
I think the biggest thing for us is to try to perform consistently. And I think it's, you can go out and wrestle a really, really good team and have a good performance and maybe not get the win. So even in winning, you could maybe perform poorly, and I'm sure that's the same. And, you could talk to any coach in any sport, but I think trying to get our guys to be consistent and always bring the same energy and effort to the table, I think is a big part of the next step for us so that we can be consistent and then consistently beat better teams.
That didn't seem to be the case, though. Obviously, in this match, it seemed like you did wrestle pretty well through your entire lineup.
Yeah, they did, and I think the guys are, individually, you might have a little bit of fluctuation, and we're working on that. And, there's a whole nother element to wrestling that, making weight is a big, big thing. So, like, if I'm a tiddlywinks player, well, I can eat the same all the time and play on the weekend, right? When wrestling, I need to limit my meals. I've got to be really strict at the end. I've got to cut a little water weight. So your body can have these fluctuations unless we really get it down to a science, which obviously the better people always look the same. They always eat the same things. Their weight goes to the same place. And we have a lot of young kids, so we're trying to get them to do that. But that's a big part of our sport, and being consistent is, getting that aspect, down to a science.
Kind of following up on that question a little bit, coming up with, as you get closer to the postseason, your season it has that weird kind of week and a half break, then conferences, then another sort of week and a half break, and the nationals, obviously. So what is your approach going to be during those week and a half breaks where you said, you do have a young team and you're going to kind of be a little bit out of the traditional practice duel on the weekend situation? So how are you going to kind of manage that just to make sure everyone keeps their focus and, stays, I don't want to say committed, but just stays on it through those sort of off week, even though?
Yeah, I can tell you the wrestling season in itself was shortened this year, but our training has been the same, meaning we started at the same time. Now we've had restrictions and how many people can be in the room, but we started back in, September. We started running, and usually after our last duel, we'll give them a day or two, maybe 2.5 days off, completely off the mat, let their bodies rest, let their minds rest. And this is where obviously eating right, not letting your weight balloon up is important. And then our workouts get actually shrunk down. So we just do a lot less work, trying to freshen up our body. I mean, the work is done. These kids have been training, some of them through, the end of the summer and all through the first semester. They put a lot of work in. So now it's about freshening them up, keeping them positive and maybe just watching a little film.
With that, can you shed a little bit of light on just how sort of the training throughout, the calendar year, not just the season, changes at certain points? Like obviously when, workouts are starting back up, you're focusing a lot on conditioning. But then as you progress, conditioning's there. It's not as much of a focal point necessarily, and it's more technique. Can you just, shed some light on that progression throughout the season for you and your program?
Yeah, I think, so right after the Nationals, we'll do a lot more skill stuff and maybe some fun stuff in the room. It's maybe a little lighter for a month, but they do a lot of lifting. So from the end of March all the way through even when we're running and stuff, all the way through about October, we're doing heavy lifting. Tanner stays here. We have optional lifts, obviously, in the summer. But the better guys are here, and the weight room's available to them 3 days or 4 days a week. So a lot of lifting, a lot of skill development. But we do a little wrestling in the summer, and then we show back up in the fall. We get a month and a half of running and get some kind of base of conditioning in, and then we start really getting in the room from there. But and then, as I said, towards the end of the year, we really lighten it up, so we won't wrestle near as long. Practices aren't as long. But these kids are pretty committed, and they're working out year round. So they should remain, they should have a certain level of fitness that, obviously far exceeds the average person. So, we can lighten up on them because I know they were wrestling hard in August or whatever, in a normal year,
Right.
so that's kind of the cycle of the year.
Next question's from Daniel.
Yeah, Coach, as of yesterday, you guys now have 4 different wrestlers who are nationally ranked. Jeffrey just came into the rankings at the 141 pound range, and he's, in his first year for you guys as a redshirt freshman, and he's been wrestling pretty well lately. I mean, he had that great win on Sunday in overtime against Northern Colorado. Can you kind of give me an idea of, his impact on the team, his role now, especially since he's really been performing well as of late?
His role is going to be just leader. I mean, I don't care how young you are when you're in the starting lineup and now you're a nationally ranked kid and you're a hardworking kid. He leads by example. He leads really right now. Jeff has been one of our most consistent, I'm not saying winners, consistent performers. So he goes out and we get the same effort all the time. He looks pretty good physically all the time. And that's a tribute to his preparation. We talked about, your weight management, and how hard you're working in the practice room. So he's doing a nice job for us.
Next question's from Kevin.
I'm following up a little bit on the, weight management and all those things. Obviously, that's been a big part of your sport for a long time. How much has the increased emphasis on nutrition in college programs in general, and West Virginia in particular? I know y'all have, and most of the athletic programs have gotten some new, facilities, snack and nutrition rooms and people to help you with that.
It's huge having that. That was one of the many things that attracted me to, WVU, is having those type of support staff and that type of commitment to the athletes that we have here. Having nutrition stations, and the kids that are truly focused, it's a huge advantage. Kids that aren't focused, they go to the nutrition station and they ram a bunch of stuff in, and they go to the free meal and ram but the kids that are really committed take advantage of that, getting their protein after workouts. And it's just like getting your proper rest. It's just one more thing that you can check off in your favor. And what, in a physical sport, you can't control what the other guy is. You can control my nutrition, my weight loss, my sleep, my stress level with school by staying on it. So we try to check as many of these boxes that we can check, before we go into battle.